How do you help companies with that part of it to make sure that not only do we celebrate new employees joining the company, but also make sure that the people who are here already are make sure they're celebrated as well?
Well, I mean, the truth is a lot of the contractors we see, they don't even celebrate the new people. So you're seeing that happen because they forget that part of it too.
Please welcome America's service sales coach, Joe Crisara.
Welcome to the Service MVP Podcast, the show that helps home service professionals master high-value sales, build stronger client relationships, and grow their business like never before. Join industry experts as they share real strategies that drive results. If you're ready to level up your service game, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
It's the Service MVP Podcast.
Thank you for listening and watching the Service MVP Podcast. I want to give you a copy of my free book. Just click on the link below in the description and one will be sent to you from me personally. Thank you so much for listening. Welcome to the Service MVP Podcast. My name is Joe Crisara, America's service sales coach, and we have a very special guest. His name is Ryan Englin from Core Matters, which is a professional consulting and training company that helps blue-collar businesses scale and grow by being able to create recruiting systems that really work. Ryan, welcome to the podcast. I really appreciate you being here.
It's a pleasure to be here, Joe.
Well, Ryan, why don't we go ahead and talk about a little bit about what this company does. Recruiting, it sounds like you don't just do recruiting for external people, but you also try to make sure we keep the people you currently have and make sure we keep those people as well. What got you into this business? Tell a little bit about your history and what got you here.
My dad was an owner-operator, so I grew up in the blue-collar space. And I watched him struggle for years growing his company. And I always thought he had a sales and a lead generation problem. Later on, I found out that wasn't exactly the case. But when I got out of college and I wanted to do something on my own, I started my own marketing company to work with service contractors, to help them with lead gen, email marketing, all the stuff that marketing companies do. It was a couple years in and I had a bunch of contractors telling me, hey, I don't need more leads. I got more empty trucks than I have full-time techs. Can you help with that problem? And I was like, sure, I got to save my business. Let's do it. It turned out we were remarkably good at it. And so we slowly pivoted the business into partnering with these contractors, teaching them how to implement this system so they could attract, hire, and retain all the best talent that they wanted.
Well, why don't we dive right into it then? Let's go ahead and get started. What are the biggest mistakes when trying to hire and recruit people to work at your company, would you say, that contractors make?
I think the number one mistake they make is that they only hire when they have a need. And they're only thinking about it when they have a need. So a technician quits, they take on a new job, something happens and they're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And then they react to the situation. They take whatever they had, they dig up whatever they could 2 years ago, they Google it, they figure it out, and they do their best. And I think it's that reactivity that really hurts a lot of them, because they don't have time to go slow, get to know the people, make sure they're the right fit. And so that's the number one issue that I see. I think the other thing that we run into too is a lot of contractors don't like this. They don't like the recruiting part. Like, they want to get out there, they want to fix things, they want to build things, they want to do that. And so they don't put the energy or the emphasis into their people as much as they do other parts of the business. And I think ignoring that or just thinking, hey, we'll figure it out like we always have, is another one of the big mistakes that they make.
I think I see a lot of companies that when they hire new people, they feel so happy that they finally found somebody that they can live with. And I think sometimes they neglect the current staff they have, and they kind of roll out the red carpet for the new people, but the people who have been here building the company become neglected. I call it being out of balance. How do you help companies with that part of it to make sure that that not only do we celebrate new employees joining the company, but also make sure that the people who are here already make sure they're celebrated as well?
Well, I mean, the truth is a lot of the contractors we see, they don't even celebrate the new people. So you're seeing that happen because they forget that part of it too. But I think one of the things that we want to shift the mindset on is people think of onboarding as something that you do with a new employee for a day or two until they're in the truck or until they're in front of the system. And then that's it. Onboarding is over. It's an event with a start and a stop. And the mindset shift I want a lot of people to get is that onboarding is a process. It is not an event. And you should be re-onboarding or re-recruiting your people all the time. There are people that have been with you for 2 or 3 years that have watched as the company has evolved and things have changed, but they're not even quite sure what the new way of doing things is. And if you were constantly re-engaging them on a regular interval, re-onboarding them, everybody would be on the same page. Everybody would feel like they mattered. Everybody would be engaged. And it can be a real game changer for, especially a small business. It can be a real game changer.
Well, Ryan Englin, we're very fortunate to have him here. He has literally written a book on recruiting systems that work. Ryan, can you talk a little bit about writing the book, and why did you write the book, and tell us why was that so important for you to write that book? I read some of it, and I think it's amazing what I read. I can't wait to finish. I'm deep into the middle of it. I can't wait to finish the rest of it. Tell us a little bit why you did that, wrote that book.
Yeah, thank you. The book is called Hire Better People Faster. And when I found this process, this proven system that I could just see over and over and over again working, I realized that there were so many contractors out there that needed this information that were never either going to find out about me or were never going to decide to work with me. And they had a team that could go implement this stuff themselves. So I wanted to give them all the information and teach them all the tools, teach them the systems, because I knew there were contractors out there that would do something with it. And I wanted to put that information in their hands. And frankly, it's people like my dad. My dad never hired me, right? He's not going to hire his kid to help him with his business. But there's people like my dad who are like, hey, you know what? They grind it out every single day. And if they could just have a couple of little things to do to improve things, it can make all the difference for them.
We'll tell you at the end too, but might as well tell us now. How do people get a hold of that book? Where can they find it?
You know what? They can get a free copy of it if they go to corematters.com/free book. Small little shipping handling fee. I'll autograph it. I'll drop it in the mail and send it out to them. And they'll actually get a bunch of bonus tools as well if they go through that route.
That sounds like a great offer. Why don't we go ahead and just, if you don't mind, unpacking a little bit of the process, the recruiting process that you talk about. If you were illuminating the path for me as a service contractor or a blue collar professional, tell us a little bit about how that path looks, or how would we start on that path? Let's get started with the first phase of how somebody who works with Core Matters gets started. What does that path look like?
Yeah, so a big focus for us is what we call becoming the employer of choice. And real simple definition for that. People want to work there and they want to stay. I found out a long time ago recruiting is a marketing activity. So when we start thinking about recruiting as a marketing activity, it changes the way we approach our marketing. Instead of thinking about finding the next great recruit or finding that next person, going to look for them, or God forbid, paying Indeed a bunch of money to give you a bunch of applicants you have to sort through, what if we flipped the script and said, what if we could attract the best people? What if we could create marketing systems, a website, better job ads that people will go, whoa, that's a place I want to work. And they were excited about learning about working for your company and what your company stood for and what was in it for them. And we started thinking about this as a marketing tool. And that's one of the big shifts we make right at the beginning. Because if people can't find you, if they don't know who you are, if they don't know what it's like to work there, you're going to get the same people applying for 100 jobs, hoping that you're one of them that calls them, and you're still going to struggle getting the right people.
Well, I think it's obvious, right? It's like although it seems obvious to you because you do it all the time, but I think it's a blind spot that everybody has, which is that, they might put a little bit about interested in a job, like some little blurb at the bottom of their page somewhere that's very hard to find. And it's like just an afterthought. I think if you're a employee and you're just like, yeah, these people really value finding employees, and I already feel valued. The fact that they have focused on giving me some information to see, kind of telling me what they're looking for, and I'm kind of getting a sense of what the company's about. So it's not a mystery going into a job interview. It doesn't take very much work or effort. You're anticipating that people would have questions about the company or what this job is all about, and you're kind of providing that in that page. Does that sound accurate, what I'm saying there?
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that might resonate with a lot of your listeners is, I'm sure that you talk a lot about understanding your customer and being able to identify the right customer for your business, the ideal customer. I want you to do the same thing when it comes to an employee. Who's the ideal employee? I mean, have we ever taken a step back to think about who's the right person to join our team? When we get really clear on that, we can create better marketing for them. We can create that website. We can create those things. Another real easy tool that we like to talk about is the testimonial. Probably every contractor out there has customer testimonials, but how many have employee testimonials? Like, what an easy way for people to know what it's like to work there and what's in it for them. But hearing from your employees.
Yeah, I guess it would be a eye opener if you had a hard time getting testimonials from your team, from your team, right?
It definitely be an indicator of red flag. Yeah.
That's maybe one of the things that hold them back because I'm not sure what they would say if I asked them to do this kind of a thing. It's kind of like a part of business development, which is why you're not just a training company, you're also a consulting company. How many of these gaps and how do you approach companies when I guess a pretty obvious gap, not having an intentional place for new people who are looking to join our team or us searching to attract people to the team. It sounds like we're doing this by attraction rather than overt promotion by doing it this way. But tell us, how do you fix some of those gaps without harming the ego of the people who have fallen short? Or do they willingly admit it, or how's it? What's that like?
Joe, you're crazy. We are in blue collar. There are no egos. There is no emotion. We just go out and we build cool stuff, right?
You're funny.
No, you're right. I hear a lot of people tell me, oh, there's no one good out there. No one wants to work anymore. Everybody's lazy and entitled.
Yeah.
And you're not going to like this, but what I found is that it's not that there's no one out there that wants to work. It's that no one wants to work for you. So if there's a problem and you're struggling with this and you think everybody's lazy and entitled, I have to say it's time to maybe look in the mirror and say, hey, do you want the business you've always wanted? Because it might be time for a change. And I see it so often where the turnover is the real problem. Most contractors don't have a hiring issue. And if you don't believe me, go ask your accountant how many W-2s you issued last year and compare that to the number of people on your team. It's almost always significantly more. So we don't have a hiring issue. What we have is a retention issue. And so there might be people that want to join your team, but they don't want to stay. And if they don't want to stay, 9 times out of 10, it's a culture issue. It's a leadership issue. It's a communications issue. And there's some work to be done internally. And I know sometimes that's hard for people to hear because they want to think that they've got the perfect business and that they're the greatest boss. But if people are really leaving and you're not taking the time to figure it out, you're not growing as a leader. You're not improving the company. You're not making sure that you're a place people want to, they want to work and where they want to stay.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we just feel like we have employees and they should feel happy to have a job, and I feel happy to have them. The kind of the culture of celebration or to make work something that people love to do or love to come to, where there's something missing if they don't come here to work, is something that I think everybody should do to achieve. How do we achieve that to where we make the workplace something that is so enjoyable that we feel like we have FOMO if we don't make it to work today? We're going to have fear of missing out. How do we achieve that? Tell us more about that.
When we first started doing this, we started looking at why is it that people stay at some places and not at others. And if you think about, especially the modern workforce, like what you had said, oh, they should feel honored that they have a job, that's like old school mentality. The modern workforce does not subscribe to that anymore. What they care about is they're very selfish. What's in it for me? The marketing term, like what's in it for me? Because if I don't understand that, I'm not interested. And when we started researching this, we found that there were a few things that people gave up, that they sacrificed to come work. And this is just for everybody. And we really just get it down to 3 categories. They give up their family. They give up time with their family to come to work. They give up time with their friends, and they give up the time on the things they do for fun. Family, friends, and fun. So if you can replicate that at the workplace, and they feel like they have a work family to go to, they have work friends to go to, or they're going to have a good time, now all of a sudden they're missing out. Because when their buddy calls like, hey man, you were out sick today, you missed it. We had such a great time on this one job. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, I should have been there.
Right.
We don't create that. If we're not intentional about creating that, then it's not going to happen on its own.
What you say sounds both with the thing where we get our company material ready for marketing and also making sure that we are creating a family-friendly and environment where we feel like something we're attracted to do, but we have a blind spot to that. Well, how can we business owners kind of close the gap on the blind spot they may have there?
So we use a lot of objective measurements, a lot of assessments, a lot of tools that will help get the employees to better explain what they struggle to explain. Because we ask people all the time, are you happy? Yeah, I'm happy. Well, they don't really know how to talk to you about the things they're unhappy about.
Mm-hmm.
And so we use a lot of objective measurements. One of the greatest tools that we've found is Gallup's Q12. I don't know if you've heard of that or not.
No, what is it?
So Gallup's a consulting firm. They do research all over the world about employees, employers. They look at employee engagement. They look at retention. They have all the data. And the Q12 is a 12-question yes/no assessment that you send to everybody on your team. And they ask questions like, in the last 7 days, I've received praise or recognition for my work. Yes or no?
Mhm.
I have a best friend at work. Yes or no? Somebody in the last 6 months has talked to me about my career progress. Yes or no? And we send these 12 questions out to the entire team. And it comes back and it tells us where are our blind spots objectively, because we heard from our people. We're not sitting there looking for the blind spots because they're really hard to find that way. We send this assessment out. It's completely anonymous. So your team doesn't have to worry about any kind of retribution for their responses. And it can be very eye-opening. We had a contractor that just finished this, and I've received praise or recognition in the last 7 days was really low for them.
Mm.
And of course, their immediate response was, I'm not going to tell a guy good job for doing his job. That's the mindset.
Yeah.
But the modern workforce grew up in that environment. And especially the millennials, the Gen Z, they grew up being told they did a good job, even though they weren't first place. And so they want to know that they're doing a good job. That reinforces their confidence so that they can go to that next step and do the next thing that's good. And as leaders, we have to recognize that there's an opportunity in the marketplace with this. By putting in these objective assessments, it can really expose our blind spots for us in a way that we have data to support it.
How often does that kind of a exercise take place, would you say?
Some companies just do it once. I encourage you to do it quarterly, because the first few times you ask your people, they're going to pencil whip it because they know that what's going to
right.
right?
Yeah.
So they're just going to be like, good. And then you're like, yay, we're awesome. But over time, they're like, oh, they keep asking. Maybe I should be a little bit more real with this because they'll do something with it. So I like companies to do it quarterly. It all depends on how big your team is and how much you can take on in a quarter or, twice a year, something like that.
So number one, let's make sure we're set up. So when we do run marketing or trying to attract people to us, that there's something publicly that says there's a warm place here for new people looking for an opportunity. Number two, let's make sure that the current people feel there's a warm place here for opportunity as well. And that's number two. And then going down the road a little bit, tell us about the hiring process and part of it. That's one of the most painful things is like, oh my God, I got this job interview today. And like they may have, I don't know, sometimes you get like nobody applying for the job, but sometimes you get 300 people applying depending on how it goes. And then like, how am I going to filter through all these people? And then when I get to, I got a whole day of job interviews maybe or whatever. That's one of the most painful things for owners because they're trying to get their books together, trying to get the service team, the sales team, the office team, the inventory team. I mean, there's so many things to do. And then you got to sit down with some guy I may or may not hire. And I hate to paint a bleak picture, but it's daunting. I'm just kind of I'm just trying to say Ryan and I understand. It's like, but tell us a little bit about that. How can we simplify that and take away some of that burden from the owner so that they can manage a way to scale it? Because you said scale it, that really got my interest because that's the part that needs to be done.
The screening and interview process is probably the thing that people brag about most, that the process that we teach, because it's so different from what most people learn through Hard Knocks. The first thing to do is when you were talking about sometimes they get nobody or sometimes they get 300 applications and they're like, I don't have time for this. Like I got a business to run. I got jobs to go take care of. We like to implement what's called an applicant tracking system. And what this is a software tool that connects with all the job boards. All your candidates come into one place and you can automate the screening using this tool. So when they apply, they answer a couple of questions. And then depending on how they answer the questions, the system can be like pass or reject. So you can eliminate probably 60% of those 300 automatically. And then once the system has screened them, you can move them through the process and trigger automated assessments, integrity tests, behavioral assessments. All of this stuff gets triggered automatically so that you're not chasing these guys. Heck, you can even send your Calendly link on your behalf and chase the guy and be like, hey, schedule an appointment, schedule an appointment, schedule one. So you're not constantly chasing these.
Yeah.
Chasing's the hardest part.
It is. That's really good. So you got this process, which kind of like almost like pre-tests, almost like you're giving a pre-test people before they even join the team. It sounds like you're putting people to the test here in a way by making them do something to not just be entitled to the job, but realize that here's how we find out if you're the right person for the team in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of the ones that we do with customer service reps. Some companies get hundreds of applications for customer service reps, and they're like, how do I get through all this? And one of the easiest ways to do it is to have the system send back an email. And we get kind of technical and geeky on this, but a lot of companies record phone calls or have voicemail drops and call rail, or they're using systems, and create a phone number for that person or for that job, and then send an email that says, hey, we'd love for you to call us at this number. And then when they call, they get a voicemail greeting that says, hey, thank you so much for applying for the CSR job. One of the things you're going to do is call back on a lot of our estimates. You know as well as I do, you're going to leave a lot of voicemails. So leave us a voicemail that's so compelling that we can't help to call you back and get you into the next stage of the interview.
And we could talk for hours about this subject. There's so much I have in my mind I want to ask you, but I'll come down to one of them. When you eventually get down to in-person interviews, do you help owners of blue-collar businesses make sure they ask the right questions that are both compliant and also that get a good traction to make sure that they're not just horizontal questions that waste everybody's time? Maybe fewer questions, but questions that reveal more about people and help both the job applicant feel if this is the right company, and make sure that you feel if this is the right employee, right? How have you designed the job interview questions, if you don't mind? You don't kind of give us any right now, but if you want to tell us a little bit about how you've done that, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so there's two parts to the job interview. There's a culture fit component. Are they the right person? Are they going to jive with the team? Are they going to work well here? When most people tell me they can't find anyone good, what they're talking about is they can't find anyone that fits their culture. Right? That's the one side. The other side is the position fit, the skill set, the stuff we're going to teach them anyways. The turning the wrench is the position fit. So you have to go into it thinking there's two parts to the interview. So let's separate them for a second. On culture fit, once we understand who we are as an organization, I talked about employer of choice and understanding who we are and creating that marketing message. Once we understand that, it's really easy to say, are people going to align with us? And I actually don't like asking questions. I like processes. So for example, I will tell people, hey, for us, early is on time and on time is late.
Mm-hmm.
Your interview's tomorrow at 7:30. I'll see you then. And the first question we answer on the interview is, did they show up early or not?
That's a good question. Yeah.
We're not even asking them anything. Did we show up? Another one that we like to do is we tell them when we do the phone screen or if we communicate via email, when you show up for the interview, be dressed, ready to work.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just leave it at that. Do they show up in PPE? Do they got their boots on? How do they show up?
That's a really great question.
We're not even asking questions. We're looking for behavior.
I get it.
Entire interview process is that.
Yeah, you're finding out information by the commitment of actions people take, not just the words, because interview words are cheap. The actions that people, it's funny, you're sitting hidden in plain sight, all those factors that people may ignore, but you kind of illuminated, a light into a dark space that exists there. So that's really great information, Ryan. I think some paradigm shifts are taking place on a lot of people listening to this podcast right now. At the end of it, when you do hire somebody and you make a selection, tell us how that process goes. Is that something that is sent by letter? Do it right now? How fast do you think when you find the right person, you should move on it? And tell us what that process looks like when you eventually find the person. You just the right person appears in front of you. What happens then?
Yeah. So move quickly. Once you know you have the right person, move fast, because good people are going to get sniped up by other people, right? Like you want to make sure that they come work for you. So move quickly. Yes, I believe in putting it in writing with an offer letter. I believe in having a conversation. But one of the things that we do is we talk about expectation setting. Because what I found is if you terminate someone in the first 90 days or they leave in the first 90 days, someone's expectations were not met. And most of the time, these are pre-assumed expectations. Like we didn't talk about it. We just assumed expectations.
Yes.
And so what I like to do is have an expectations meeting where you sit down and before you sign the offer letter and they're officially hired, you talk about the things that you know are going to create some issues. So for example, we had one company, electrical contractor. The guy was a hard ass. Like he was on you all the time and he knew it. And that was just him. And his people were like, hey, as long as you do what he said, asked you to do, he's not that hard to get along with.
Yeah.
We actually had that conversation real early on in the expectation setting so that nobody missed that later.
I get it.
Or another one is work ethic. Like a lot of contractors want guys that are going to pick up the tools and go get the job done, not ask a lot of questions, not dilly-dally, not get distracted by their phones. Well, let's have that conversation early on, especially if you saw the guy pick up his phone a couple times during the interview. Like, let's really drive that one home. So this expectations meeting is so critical. I liken it to this. So when I got married 20 years ago, moved in with my wife, and I learned things like there's a right way to fold a towel. I don't know if you knew that. Right? There's a right way to do dishes and stack the dishwasher. There's a right way to fold socks. The hamper is actually not just a recommended target, like the clothes actually go in the hamper, right?
Yeah.
I learned all these things real early on in my marriage. And I know for a lot of people, that first couple of months of marriage is a huge adjustment. And some people, it creates fights and it's none of this stuff's deal breakers. How often do we hire somebody and nothing that they do is a deal breaker, but it's death by 1,000 paper cuts? Imagine that my wife sat in the driveway beforehand and I'm like, all right, honey, how do we fold the towels? Check. What's the hamper? Check.
Yeah.
How do we do dishes? Check. We got all those expectations out of the way.
Yeah.
Things would have been so much better the first 6 months.
It's funny. It is funny because sometimes people wait to make that checklist when they're in marriage counseling as opposed to before they got married. It would be nice to go through that checklist before we got married, right? And are you willing to commit to these activities? And then maybe we should start a business together on this one, Ryan. I think we could put together a good list for men like us who had to learn the hard way, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. But when do employers do it? Oh, we dodged a bullet. That guy left. Add it to the job description. Check. Add it to the job description. Check. And so now the person's already left. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to make it harder for the next guy. And that's not fair.
Well, Ryan, I have a saying. I always say a good podcast starts on time and a great one ends on time. Well, it's too late for that. This is going to be a super great because it went a little overtime. Ryan, how can somebody get a hold of you and learn more about how you interact? Because it sounds like you're not just interacting for recruiting, you're also interacting for job retention and making sure the company is paying attention to its own employees. So it doesn't sound like it's just the only one you need to recruit people. It sounds like it's something that is being used all the time at Core Matters. Does that sound correct?
That is correct. And people can find me on LinkedIn or they can go to corematters.com and learn all about our process and our tools. We've got a ton of free content for them. And like I said earlier, corematters.com/free book, and then get a copy of my book and check that out as well.
Well, I know that I'm going to order some of those free books for my staff because I think we definitely could use a little dose of your service as well, too. Thank you, Ryan, for being here. And thanks for helping all these listeners help to build a better business and scale a business through recruitment and retention. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Joe.